scriptures say in the Torah, it says the purpose of you keeping these statutes and commandments, not only showing your obedience to the Most High, so that you may prosper in the land and have extension of life. Our people are not prospering the way they're supposed to, and the ones that do get compromised so they can't go back and help us because all their investments is in other nations and in other corporations. So when you say, hey, how come Jay-Z is not putting $500 million into the black community? Why would he do that when all of his sponsors, lick and all of that is invested in the stuff that we do, spending our funding irresponsibly? So you want him to throw all the endorsements he has away, lose half of his fortune just to help us? Nah, we ain't gonna do that. So their hands are tied, right? But when we understand that the scripture wants us to prosper and have extension of life, no matter where we at, Deuteronomy chapter 30 says, even in your land of exile. That's deep. Because people think, oh, that's just for... No. Even in your land of exile, if you wake up and remember me and turn you and your children, he says that not only will I restore your fortunes, that's what it says, I'm also going to bring you back into the land. That has been a perpetual promise, and it has not gone anywhere. The only person that can do something about it or squander it is you. As soon as we're born, we're not taught anything about this. We give up our inheritance to the nations. They don't have the axe for it. We just give it to them. So now is an opportunity with what we're trying to do with KHM to keep everything in-house. King Khan? All right, let me stop preaching with y'all. Let's get to this presentation, and we can talk later, all right? All right, so this is our KHM Raleigh Chapter briefing. Those of you from Raleigh, what is that right there? You know where that area is at? Downtown. Okay. Because you know what I did. I think this is the first time that I've really been in Raleigh. I always passed through. I've never been. This is my first time being in Raleigh. Because like I told you, some of you just skip past Raleigh. It's for Charlotte at. Just go right past Raleigh. So I went online. I grabbed the picture. I said, I hope somebody tell me, oh, that's not downtown Raleigh. That's somewhere else. And y'all confirmed that I did the right thing. So give me a round of applause. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so before we begin, everybody has a cell phone in here. Please take your cell phone out right now. It's only going to take a few, maybe a minute or two. If you have Apple or Android, we don't discriminate here. All right, you'll see the name of the app right here. Please go into your Play Store, your Apple App Store, and grab this app. Once you get it and download it, let me know. Most of y'all got it? All right, so once you have it, click on it to open it up, the icon to open it up, and you're going to see a field that says zip code. All right, type 30061. And you'll see a bunch of entries come up, maybe 2, 3, but you'll see something that says Harbinger Ministries. You see that? Click on that. Yes. All right, so that is, now you have our app, and with our app, we can communicate to you through our app, and you can also communicate with us through the app. All right, so I want to make sure everybody has it, because some things we may mention here or after here that you may have to go to the app for, okay? All right, cool. All right, so let's move forward. All right, so I gave an introduction a little bit already, so we're going to pass that. I'm off the hook now. But typically, we have icebreakers. But before we do icebreakers, I normally do an assessment to see who's here, to see if we're meeting the prerequisites for what's about to be presented to you. Okay, and some of you already seen this, you already know where we're going, all right? First one is, how many of us in here identify as an Israelite? Raise your hand. That's like everybody, okay. Because sometimes we had some events where the hands wasn't going up. But at the end of that, yeah, where can we sign up, man? I didn't know anything about this. So we don't discriminate who comes through those doors. Anybody can come through those doors, because at the end of the day, we just want them to know the truth. Right? And with the truth, what do you do with it next? Once you have it, now what? Any of y'all went to the Great Awakening conference in Detroit in July? Any of y'all been out there? Raise your hand. Did anybody go there? You was there?
Yes, sir.
What? Yeah. How'd I miss you?
Yeah, I was only there for that first day.
Oh, okay, because the second day they had the cruise and everything like that, so it was great. Okay. Well, I was saying that because we had breakout sessions, and they had different people assigned to different rooms that was teaching on different things. And the one they chose for me is Awakened, Now What? Mm-hmm. So now that you know you're Israel, right? Black and brown people. But now that you know you're Israel, now what do? Oh, I just keep the statute laws commandments. What does that look like? Yeah. What about your community around you? Are you still, what we call the curses, are you still having curses on you keeping Torah? Well, hold on. When I go up past verse 15, it's telling me all these things we're supposed to be getting.
Right.
When we keep Torah. Something's wrong. But we're going to get into that. So everybody identifies Israel, great. So you met that prerequisite. How many of y'all actively practice Torah to the best of your ability? Now you may need the help of the Ruach, or the Spirit. You know that. Right? And the teachings of Yeshua help to instill that. But Torah, because that's community-based, right? How do you show love towards your brother and sister? How do you show love towards the Most High? All right? And how many of y'all are proactive? Now, what's the difference between reactive and proactive? Anybody raise your hand. Tell me the difference. I know you already know. That's fine. Yes, go ahead.
I feel like reactive is when you when someone says something that you might think that is offensive, or you're like saying, "Oh, why are you doing that?" They might
Perfect. Look at that. Out the mouths of babes. Where's your parents at?
She's not that.
Congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause. That's awesome. I see a lot of adults hesitant. Kids don't care. Like, hey, call on me. I don't care. All right, so what is proactive? Does anybody know what proactive is? She gave us different. So reactive is an immediate response to an unfavorable or favorable environmental stimuli. What does that mean? So if somebody steps on your toe, oh, how you step on my toe? Right? You go outside and the light is bright, close your eyes. Reactive is your immediate response, your instinctive response to something that happens in your environment. So what does proactive mean? Yes?
To wear sunglasses because you know the sun's out.
There you go. So that means you put measures in place
Yes.
to avert any kind of circumstance that is unfavorable. Right? So if we know we have crime in our community, what do? Get more police? Police don't fix the crime, they manage it. Did you hear what I said? Police don't fix crime, they manage it, and maybe their presence is a possible deterrent. But that's not going to fix the root cause of crime. If we see that a black community in the projects is impoverished because there's no jobs, there's no after-school programs anymore, there's no more tech colleges, which means you go get a trade, and once you get that trade, you can work anywhere in the world. You don't have those outlets. We don't have unemployment services. Everybody's hooked on welfare. Maybe that's the problem. I'm just saying, maybe that's the problem. And then you redline us from out of prospective neighborhoods that have good real estate, etc. So maybe you fix those issues and you may not need the cops no more. Maybe you teach the people how to have respect for each other because of the value that they should see in one another. There's things that police and politics can't fix that we have to own up and correct. And Yah has given us the blueprint on how to do that. Being proactive, put these things in place. So once you learn your culture, now how does it look like in the real world? How does it fix societal ills that you see each and every day? Okay. All right, so let's get to the mission statement. Now I'm going to explain to you what KHM is, and I'm going to let you know this. KHM is not a congregation. So you can be part of any congregation you want. How wonderful is that? That's great. And still join the organization because we have specific goals and missions in mind that does not tread upon your worship or your doxology, how you worship and who you get together with and fellowship with, okay? All right, so mission is we are a ministry organization charged with being a herald. What's a herald?
Who makes the announcement?
Proclaimer, announcement, so one that goes before someone or something else to announce its arrival or give an announcement about it or something along those lines, okay? For the kingdom of Yah to come, harbingers go before a king or army to announce their arrival and make lodgings for their stay. We are bringing awareness of Yah to our community and preparing them to be received by Yah. So one of the important things about us is we realize that once we wake up, that's great and all. Okay, I understand Torah, okay, cool. I see what Yeshua taught, that's great. But now a harbinger goes before the kingdom of Yah to not only announce its arrival, but prepare the people to receive the king. We can only do that if we are working amongst ourselves and are detethered from the society that causes us to compromise ourselves. You can only do that if you support your own. Okay? To accomplish this, we are restoring culture, and I gave you an example of that earlier, to our people to form more close-knit and proactive communities with the goal of becoming autonomous. What's autonomy? Don't answer that. He wrote a whole song on that. That's on our mixtape. He can't answer that. All right? So, anybody, what does autonomy mean? And give me an example of what it looks like. Yes?
Self-dependence. Like,
Excellent.
example would be just making everything and not having to go to anybody else. You basically depending on a group, yourself being self-dependent, basically.
There you go. So autonomy is self-governance. So you take care of your own social affairs, your health affairs, your financial affairs. So that means the community does not have to go outside of itself to take care of whatever issues it has. Are we doing that?
No.
We're not doing that. All our social services, everything is from everybody outside of us. Financial opportunities, everybody outside of us. Right? Health issues, go to groups outside of us. So until we're able to do that, guess what? We cannot be Kodesh. What does Kodesh mean? Holy or set apart. How are you set apart if you're being compromised by other groups outside your community? Because they can influence you to do certain things. Like, for example, you get a job, you tell your job up front, hey, look, I just want to let you before I start working, these are my set apart days, these are my holidays. Job says, we don't care about that. They can't say it outright like that, but they'll make it difficult for you to take those days off. They'll give you every other holiday, but the one that's supposed to come out of the book that all of them claim to believe in. So autonomy means we create our own jobs that is based on our cultural norms. You understand? When you have a business like that, you don't have to compromise. Getting immunizations, and that's another sensitive topic. Some of y'all may agree with it, some of y'all may not agree with it, but the option to choose is very difficult now. Now, in a lot of states, they removed the religious exemption from vaccinations. So unless you can prove that you have an allergy to the ingredients in a specific cocktail that's in one of those, the adjuvants that's in the vaccine, then you can't get exemption. And now y'all know this big thing going on about coronavirus and COVID-19, that's another discussion altogether. But with autonomy, you have the choice on how you deal with it as a community. You don't have to compromise. You understand? That's important. Autonomy also creates something called community currency. What's a community currency? Money, but what kind of money? Money that is circulated within your own community, and the value comes based on the workforce and labor from those within the community. We don't have that. So you gotta lean on the national currency in order to do anything within your community. That's not good, because that currency is regulated by a central bank that can do anything. If they put out too much, high inflation, hyperinflation, guess what? The value of stuff goes down. But if you don't touch any of that, you just stack it up in case you need it, and then you use a currency for within your community. It could be something as simple as a card. Hey, you have this business, you have this business, you have this business. Okay, we start everybody off with 100 things of credit, and then from there you shop amongst each other. What happens is we increase the value of that because it is only as valuable as the businesses and the people that's attached to it. Therefore, we don't have to touch the national currency, and we can just stack it. But those things do exist. Community currency does exist, and guess where places that exist? And mostly third world countries that have third world villages. That means you have a village that's struggling, and they can't keep up with the urbanization and the outskirts of where their community is, and therefore they can't go to market or town and buy anything because they can't afford to do anything. So they create their own currency for their community, and anything that they get from outside that community, they save. And when people come and say, man, this community is worth $50 million, how is that possible? Because we don't spend none of that national currency. We just save it because we have a system that works amongst our own community.
Wow.
So what happens is now those third world villages are now competing at the national level in regards to the value that they have within their community. And you know what the first thing happens? People who want to colonize are, oh, we got to gentrify them. That's the first thing. When they see potential, that's the problem with us. We have to see potential 20, 50, 60, 100 years from now. When people gentrify, you think that just happened that year? No. They plan that 15, 20 years in advance. And they assess all the prime real estate and say, oh, this community, they got something they don't realize. We're going to find 10 years to move a couple of us in, you know, kind of get a sense of what the community is, sway them politically to vote for certain people that's going to pass certain laws to make it difficult for grandma to keep her house. And then we're going to work with the banks and cause the banks to increase all the additional taxes in regards to the properties they're getting, all the additional interest, etc. And then after a while, they can't afford it. So by the time we step in and say, hey, we're going to give you a voucher for $10,000 to move out this house. You thinking, oh man, something happened. They were already planning this 10 years in advance. You didn't know the telltale signs to do anything. And that's why we're losing. But if you kept Torah actively as a community, you can see things, because culture is the immune system of your social environment. It allows you to identify the things that are beneficial and the things that are harmful to you. And what you do, you create solutions around them.
Yes. Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry, let's keep going. All right, this will enable the remnant to inherit the coming kingdom. All right, implementing cultural autonomy in the community through research and application. That's essentially what we do. All right. All right, so our KHM logo, this is it right here. How many of y'all seen this before?
Yes.
No, you say I have it on, yeah. Anybody seen this before? Raise your hand. Okay, let's see if we can figure this out. And if you've already watched this on YouTube, please don't raise your hand. I saw the hands, not one of them. All right, so the colors, right? So let's start with red. I'll start you off with red. Red is the blood of our ancestors running through us, which they spilled for us, and what is still in us today. It must be redeemed by our actions today. All the scattered diaspora is united by this. So those of us that identify as Israel know that that book is the history, the culture, the commandments, the way of life of our ancestors. And they didn't just disappear when that book was finished. They had children, they had children, they had children, and then we happen to be the descendants of that. So their blood is running through us, but a lot of things happen to us. How are we redeeming that? If you live just any old life, when you are the dream manifest of your ancestors, you are letting them down. You're missing that. They didn't die in vain, only if you live an unpurposeful life. Then you are letting them down. Then they're turning in their grave. So the red represents that blood that's there. All right? So what do you think green represents? Now check it out. How many of y'all know who Marcus Garvey is? Raise your hand. All right, so if you know who Marcus Garvey is, you kind of have an idea what this is, but we give it our Israelite perspective. All right, so what do you think the green means then? That was a big hint I just gave you. The land, oh, okay, all right. Oh, let's do black, I'm sorry. Black is the byword representation of our identity in human the diaspora, right? Is black a nationality? No. So why do we accept being called black?
I don't.
Well, I know you do. Some of us don't. But when I'm saying generally, when I say this, I'm talking about our community at large. Because you know, we're only the 1% of the 1%. Still got 98% that still sleep, that don't know anything about this. Why are we accepting that? Because if you identify as black, we don't have to give you nothing. You're an adjective. That's it. We don't know anything about your history, about your ethnicity, what you identify, your culture. We don't know none of that. Because if you go into our community, we adopt everybody's stuff. I see a whole bunch of us going in March doing the St. Patrick's Day parade. I'm like, what's going on? Why y'all doing that? Trying to figure out what that's about. Like, what y'all doing that? That ain't your ancestors. But guess what? Nobody would never know. And we okay with that. That's the thing. We are just okay with that. Recently, how many of you know about Juneteenth? What happened with Juneteenth recently? What did they do with Juneteenth recently? Made it a national holiday. Did y'all know that?
Yes.
You know what we do? Yeah, I'm so happy, so excited. And then I go to them and say, oh, they made that a holiday? Well, what about that reparations discussion? Oh, that's not on the table no more because you're happy with a holiday? Okay, cool. We ain't got to talk about it no more. They know how to play us. And then now that it's official, they get to co-opt it. It becomes like any other holiday. Now you're going to start seeing magazines with advertising and YouTube, so advertising for every corporation trying to profit off of that. You don't have nothing that's your own because you open it up and give it to everybody else. And then you take everybody else's stuff and you have nothing of value to call your own. This is why they don't respect us. For what? What are you contributing? What IP are you contributing to this society? If we help to build it, what are we doing now to be purposeful within the society? Yah has a purpose for us here. even behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
I heard a story from World War II about this pilot that fell from out the sky. I think they shot him down, something like that. He became a POW. What's a POW? Prisoner of war. So they took him and put him in one of their concentration camps. Now, mind you, he's a soldier and everything. Put him in concentration camps, and he thought his life was over. However, he was actually getting intel about how the internment camps work. He had an opportunity to leave, and he didn't because he was finding a way to get information to an informant. Check it out. That was in the Japanese army, an informant, and they was then giving it to the U.S. to let us know how all these camps were set up, the vulnerabilities and all of that. He still had a purpose even behind enemy lines.
Amen.
Think about that. Even behind enemy lines, you still have a Yah-given purpose. Are you fulfilling it? Are you living it? Are you doing it? Are you thinking it? Are you breathing it? Does your kids know it? Or are you just keeping it to yourself? Some things to consider. All right, the green, you already got the green. The chosen land of our ancestors that was lost due to their captivity that will be eventually restored to. That's one of the promises that we turn back to our culture. Right? The symbols, we have 2 lions. They represent the royal strength of Yah's kingdom to come. Whenever you have 2 of something, it's called in double emphasis. So that means you are extending the strength of something. Right? In Hebrew, if you know anything about Hebrew grammar, you have what's called the dagesh. And the dagesh in what's called a PL stem, which is a verbal stem, which means you double what's called the biradical root. That means in Hebrew, and the shoresh means 3 consonants, 1, 2, 3. That is the root of many words that can be developed out of it, right? And then those roots are typically verbs, and there are different types of verbs. The PL stem is the intensive. So that means if I was here and I kick the ball, kick would be your cow stem or your active action. But if I take my foot and go, ugh, that's an example of the PL stem. You intensify the action. So we put 2 lines because it intensifies how great the kingdom of Yah is that is to come. All right? The man right here. Some people ask me, what is that? Some people thought that was a snake. What you got a snake doing in here? Didn't even ask me what it was. Just assumed it was a snake. Actually, it's a silhouette of a man that has a talit over him. He has a Torah in his hand. This is a shofar that he's blowing. And blowing the shofar represents the herald. Deep. Oh, that's deep.
Okay, you said this before, but I still don't see the man.
So this is a silhouette of his face. This is his neck right here. This is one hand holding the shofar. This hand is a thumb, and this hand right here is holding the book. This is the talit that's holding him. And this is a shofar. See? Yeah. So it's an abstract silhouette of a person. Now, I couldn't use the person's image because I didn't have permission. So I just used their silhouette. Yes. See, that's why as you get into the truth, you go back and read the Bible. Oh! Oh, man. All right. You're waiting on me. You're with me. All right. Now the circles represent, there's 3 circles, 1, 2, 3. Well, or you can say 1, 2, 3. This doesn't count. 1, 2, 3. And they represent the culture, the community, and autonomy that surrounds us and keeps us within our purpose. If you understand, the objective is to restore your culture, to fix the societal ills amongst us. And once we get past those societal ills, we can have more close-knit communications, relationships, bonds. And then from there, we'll start saying, hey, let's just do what we need to do for ourselves. Let's not wait on them and them and them and them outside our community. We're going to do so for ourselves. And then you become self-governed. You take care of your own community affairs. All right? All right, so let me show you this in action from history. All right, Israelites carrying out culture, community, and autonomy post-exile. Now I'm going to do a little bit of teaching before I get into the technical stuff in regards to the operation of our organization. All right? So can anybody identify these 2 items that I have here on the screen? Okay. You already know, so. Anybody else? Anybody? What is this item right here? Or what does it look like? What is it? What do you think it is? Scroll, papyrus, okay, good. And what does this right here look like? Okay, who said that? I know you already know. Who said that over there?
10 Commandments.
No, not the Ten Commandments. That's, she understands the tablet. Okay, I see association. Children work through association. But somebody else said it over there. What is that? Somebody else said it over there.
She said stone.
Stone. But shout it out again. Somebody said it again. Yes, but no, you had it. You said cuneiform. Okay, cuneiform. So it's a cuneiform tablet, right? So these two things mean something when it comes to our culture. Now, a lot of y'all, I look at this and identify it as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but that's actually not part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Dead Sea Scrolls do look similar to that, but that's not. I'm going to get into it in 1 second. So if we look at the Israelites, once they was exiled out the land, what did they do? When they were exiled, what did they, not where did they went, but what did they do? Did they just say, okay, we're going to sit here and just wait for something to happen? No. See, you already said no. Okay. All right. Jeremiah 29, 1 to 14. We're going to get into that. If you go to 2 Kings 17, 5, 7 to 8, 15, 18 to 21. 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 5, verses 7 to 8, verse 15, verse 18 to 20. We normally read it, but I'm going to save time. You can read that on your own or write it down, unless you don't want to read it. But the central key focus is what we've seen in the middle, right? The next one is 2 Kings chapter 25, 8 to 12, and Jeremiah chapter 52, 26 to 30. Now, if you read these scriptures, they're going to tell you that the Israelites were exiled out the land and why Yah did that. All right? This is for the northern tribes. This is for the southern tribes. All right? Now, once they were exiled, he already got the, I'm going to let you read it. You already brought the scripture out. So he's like, yeah, I'm ready to read something, brother. Give me something. All right, you can read 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 5. If somebody else want to grab 2 Kings 25, 8 to 12. Okay.
Then the king of Assyria invaded the whole land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
Okay, go to verse 7 and 8.
Now this came about because the sons of Israel had sinned against Yahuwah.
Wait, because they did what?
Sinned against
Go ahead.
Yahuwah, the Elohim, who had brought them up from the land of Egypt, from under the land of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and they had feared other gods.
All right, go to verse 15.
They rejected his statutes and his covenant, which he had made with their fathers, and his warning with which he warned them. And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the nations which surrounded them.
Well, hold on. Listen, that sounds like us today.
Yeah.
Remember I told you about St. Patrick's Day as an example?
Yeah.
We're just going after whatever the nations is doing. Oh, we could do that too. Keep going.
And went after the nations which surrounded them, concerning which Yahuwah had commanded them not to do like them.
Not to do like them, because you have your own culture. Okay, and go to verse 18 to 20.
So Yahuwah was very angry with Israel, removed them from his sight. None was left except the tribe of Judah. Also, Judah did not keep the commandments of Yahuwah, the Elohim.
They saw that happen. They said, obviously going to do what we want to do. Go ahead.
But walked in the customs which Israel had introduced. Yahuwah rejected all the descendants of Israel and afflicted them and gave them into the hand of plunderers until he had cast them out of his sight.
Okay. That's the end of verse 20. All right, so that's what happened to the northern tribes. Now, whoever got 2 Kings 25, 8 to 12, read that.
Okay, 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 8. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. And every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard brake down the walls of Jerusalem round about. Now the rest of the people that were left in the city, and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon, with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away. But the captain of the guard left of the poor of the land to be divine of the poor of the land.
So the poor still stayed in the land. That's very important. Keep going.
To be vine dressers and husbandmen.
All right, go to you did 8 to 12, right?
Yes.
All right, somebody get Jeremiah 52, 26 to 30. You can read it, because I know you had the other one, so you can read it. Jeremiah chapter 52.
You got it?
Right? Jeremiah 52:26.
Uh-huh.
Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them, brought them to the king of Babylon at Riblah. Then the king of Babylon struck them down and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Yahudah was led away into exile from his land. These are the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away into exile in the 7th year, 3,023 Jews. In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, 832 persons from Jerusalem.
You can skip that part. That's just giving the numbers of how many people take on. So now we see that the Israelites were sieged, they were plundered, and they was taken into captivity. Why? Because they rejected the covenant, they did not adhere to the statute, laws, and commandments, and they adopted the customs of the nations around them. That's the most important thing. The only way you give up your inheritance is if you allow yourself to be persuaded that what somebody else has is better than what Yah is giving you. Amen. You just forfeit. Sometimes what Yah gives you is something that's 5, 10, 15 years, but you want it now. You got a micro society that says you can get it right now. We don't want to wait. So we make hasty decisions. So while they were exiled, the Most High says, okay, I know this is a butt whipping for them, but I'm going to give them a purpose in exile. Somebody get Jeremiah chapter 29. And we're just going to read to verse 7. I'm going to skip 7 to 14. We're going to read to verse 7.
1 through 7?
Yes, 1 through 7.
Okay, Jeremiah 29. Now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders which were carried away captive.
Now who was it from, and who was it going to?
From Jerusalem.
From Jeremiah the prophet at Jerusalem, and he sent it to who?
Unto the residue of the elders, which were carried away captive.
Keep going.
And to the priests.
There you go. And who else?
And to the prophets.
And who else?
And to the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive.
So that means it's not just limited to just one group. Keep going.
From Jerusalem to Babylon. After that, Jeconiah the king and the queen and the eunuchs and the princes of Yehudah and Jerusalem and the carpenters and the smiths were departed from Jerusalem by the hand of Elasah, the son of Shaphan, and Gamaliel, the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah, king of Judah, sent unto Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, saying,
Okay.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Check it out now. Listen.
Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, and God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captive.
So to some of them.
To all that are carried away. To all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon.
So who caused that to happen?
Whom I have caused.
Who caused? The Most High, right?
Yes. Right.
Okay, so in Hebrew you have a verb stem that's called the heathful stem, and that's the causative. That means if you see a subject performing the action, he's not the direct cause of the action. Something is working on him or influence him to do the action. So Yah saying, I caused y'all to be carried away captive. All right, so go ahead.
Build ye houses and dwell in them.
What?
Yep.
Build ye houses and dwell in
You
them.
told them to build their own houses? Man, I went to when I drove through Raleigh, I saw some black communities. I ain't seen nobody out there building no house. Okay, keep going.
And plant gardens.
And what?
And plant gardens.
How many of y'all got a garden in your backyard? Raise your hand. How many of y'all don't or want to? Raise your hand. How many of y'all don't have the space to do it? There's something called the aero garden. That's in-home gardening. I have it actually. If you'll follow me on social media, I posted it. But and I'm gonna give one away for free to somebody here. But it's a system, a self-contained system that puts the light on a timer for you. You put water, you put plant food in, and it does the rest. You can use it to sprout and then transplant, or you can use it to grow a harvest. I have two of them. I have one that sprouts and one that grows a harvest. And I grew myself some red sails. You know what red sails are? It's a lettuce, Paris Island. You know what that is? It's another lettuce. You know what kale is, right? Yeah. Okay, baby greens, microgreens. What else do I have in here? I have I have salad greens. I have black-seeded Simpson. A whole bunch of stuff in there. I have herbs. I have dill. I have mint. So it's a way that you can grow your own food with a limited amount of space. You can put it on a desk. You can put it on a kitchen counter. You can put it on a windowsill and grow your own food. We talk about autonomy. Part of that is being able to feed yourself. If something happened like the coronavirus, remember coronavirus went down last year, it was crazy. I went to the store, the first thing was gone was toilet paper. Yo, the greens were still there, carrots were still there. Somebody going there, oh, I just need some toilet paper. That's the first thing that people think about that. When there's a pandemic. Y'all laughing, but you got nobody cared nothing about the greens. They ran right after the canned goods and all the other stuff. But all that green stuff, produce stuff was just sitting there. It was so bad that if you look statistically, they threw almost 70% of that away because nobody was buying that. That's crazy. Now, Matt, there you go. They could have gave it away, but imagine we were growing our own.
Yeah.
We would be okay. We was like, oh, it's a pandemic? I didn't even know. I got my farm right here. I got my garden right here. I got my food right here. All right, let them go there and kill themselves. We chilling right here. All right? All right, go ahead. So plant your own gardens or your vineyards and do what?
And eat the fruit of them.
Eat the fruit of them. Keep going.
Take ye wives.
Take your wives.
And beget sons and daughters. And take wives for your sons. And give your daughters to husbands. That they may bear sons and daughters.
Now look, why is that important? That's okay, but why? You gotta multiply, you're right, but why is that important? For a community that is at the brink of losing everything. Yes?
Build an army.
Replenish land, what else? Because now the key thing is, if you marry amongst yourselves, you keep the culture amongst yourselves. You don't make compromises. Because the moment that you marry somebody outside of your culture, and some of us wake up to the truth, sometimes we have a spouse that's not in the truth. And that becomes very difficult. But imagine if we were training a group of kids that got to know each other, and then now they can pick from what within their own and keep the inheritance and everything within their own community. That's part of Torah. They married amongst their own tribes. Okay. Some people say, oh, what are you talking about? Listen. In America, marry anybody you want. And that's fine. I'm not against that. Listen, people say, oh, you can't control love. I understand that, but right now we at war. Our communities are being decimated, they're being destroyed, they're being taken over, they're being gentrified. So you go ahead and do all the loving you want, but then look back and say, damn, how come we got moved out of our own house? Man, how come we losing money? Because you're not taking basic principles that every other community does. Nobody goes to an Arab community and says, why are you marrying amongst each other? Nobody goes to the East Indian community, why are you marrying amongst each other? A Korean community, they go to black, you gotta love everybody. How come we gotta be the one to love everybody, but nobody wants to love us? And we can't even love each other. Because they know the more we come together and we do that, it's a problem. Do you understand how they work on us? And then they use us on TV to promote those type of interracial marriages. And again, I'm not against interracial marriages. I'm just simply saying is that's a result of being enculturated through American culture. Because like I said, if somebody gets mad at me, nobody goes, I don't see you going to the Arab community and telling them, why are you marrying other Arabs? Don't do that. Love everybody. It's only when it comes to us. Y'all got to include everybody. But y'all says what? What did y'all say? Listen, I didn't write this. What did y'all say?
Take ye wives.
Take ye wives.
And daughters. And take wives for your sons. And give your daughters to husbands. That they may bear sons and daughters.
There you go. You're continuing the seed. Untainted. Keep going.
That you may be increased there and not diminished.
Now remember, there was an issue in England when that white prince married that black girl. Why did they have a problem with that? There's a lot of reasons why they had a problem with that. Why do you think they had a problem with that?
They wanted to keep that inheritance.
There you go. Wait, say it again. What say it again, my brother?
They want to keep that inheritance.
They want to keep the inheritance amongst their own. It's a tradition they've been doing for hundreds of years, and that's how they maintain power. We give up ours.
Amen.
You know why? Because nobody has ever taught you that you have power. And the only person that can get rid of it is you. You voluntarily surrender the power that Yah has given you. Because you give away your inheritance. How? By adopting the customs of the other nations. All right, keep going.
And seek the peace of the city.
Whoa, wait a second. Hold on. I was taught to chop down Babylon. That's what I was taught. Chop down Babylon. But wait, they're in Babylon, and what did the letter say? It said what?
And seek the peace of the
Seek
city.
the peace of the city. Now hold on, my brother. What version of the Bible is that you reading? You reading some foreign Bible. I don't know what Bible you reading, my brother. You saying they in Babylon and Most High didn't tell them chant down Babylon? Something's wrong. Something's wrong. But go ahead, keep reading. Now I didn't write this. Read that. It should be in your Bible. Read that.
And seek the peace of the city, whither I have caused you to be carried away captive. And pray unto Yahuwah for in the peace thereof
what?
you shall have
So you complaining about not having peace, but you know why? It's because you're not doing your part actively in the community. How are you seeking peace in your community? The Israelites should be at the forefront of change, peace, security, and provision in every city around the world. But you know what you don't want to do? Sit behind, indoors, watch your YouTube videos, go to your congregation, and chant down Babylon. But what happened is, if Babylon crumbles, you will crumble too, because I'll have to ask you, where is your self-sustaining community and resources in the event that God judges in Babylon? When in ancient Egypt, before the Israelites was taken out, the scripture says, the hail came, but Goshen was untouched.
That's right.
The locust came, but Goshen was untouched. The boil came, and then now when it came for the firstborn, they had the blood along the doorpost. There was not touch. Where is your untouched community? So when Yah does destroy Babylon, that you'll be able to survive it and not get taken along with it. We are too intertwined with all the conveniences of this society that the moment that Yah judges, we're going to say, wait, Yah, hold on. See if you can find 2 people in there that's righteous, because I still got a business in here. Don't destroy it yet, Yah. That's not going to wait on you. It's not going to wait on you. It's time. It's more than time. The sins of these nations is all the way up here. It's going further and further and further and further up. But you want Yah to destroy Babylon. Most of y'all going to go along with it. This is why autonomy is important, because if we create our own Goshens, doesn't matter how Yah judges the world, we will be untouched. Can you say you have an untouched community right now? Because if you don't, you got work to do. And if there's not enough peace in your city for you to create one, you're really in trouble. So I didn't write that. I didn't make that up. All we're trying to do as KHM is fulfill that. Because that was written to them in Babylon, in captivity. We are in a type of Babylon, in captivity. So what should be good for them should also work for us. So why are we skipping over that? All we telling people is keep the statutes, laws, commandments. But I don't see nobody building no house, planting no food, getting your children to know each other, marrying amongst your own, and seeking the peace of the city that you live in. And that word says pray, but that word is to intervene on its behalf to Yah, so that way in its peace, you shall have peace. Why is there crime in your community if you're a whole bunch of Israelites living there? I don't understand that. It says peace. Shalom is the word there in Hebrew. That's why we're not getting peace, because we're not active. We're not proactive. The city is waiting on you to do something. Not Yah. Yah's working through you, but if you don't get it done, it's not going to get done. And you're going to get caught up along with it when it's judged. So all we're simply trying to do is provide one of many solutions on how to get that done, or at least get it started. All right? So this right here is from what's called the Elephantine Papyri. Anybody heard of that before? Raise your hand, let me see who've heard of that. Okay, so the Elephantine Papyri is an example of northern tribe Israelites that was exiled onto Elephantine Island, which is in Egypt. It's an interesting island because it's like in Atlanta, you have the Chattahoochee River, and then we have what's called Island 4. And it's an island within the river. So it's water around it. Technically, it's a piece of land that sticks out the water, and that's called an island. That's what that was. That's what Elephantine Island is. It's an island within the Nile that came out the Nile that's surrounded by Nile River water, right? So they were when they were exiled, one community was there in Elephantine, and if we go into the Elephantine Papyri, which are a bunch of letters that were written by the community that lived there, you'll see what they were doing. They were not sitting down. They were doing everything that's written right there. Married amongst each other. You see marriage certificates and contracts and all of that. Building houses. They built houses. They bought plots of land. Building vineyards. They was putting claims on different gardens that they were creating in. And they were maintaining peace within the place in which they lived. They did everything that's in there. Did y'all know that? People didn't even know that. So they did what they was instructed to do. So now they were just there to wait to whenever Yah restored them. And what happened was, that was written close to the time in which the the Judites, or the Yahudim, were returning from Babylon back into the land. And one of those letters is called the Passover letter. Have you ever heard of that before? It was a letter that was written by these northern Israelite tribes. They sent it to a captain there in Jerusalem to say, hey, this is what we remember from our oral tradition of what Passover is. Can you confirm it? So they was keeping Passover outside the land.
Hallelujah.
In captivity. You have Israelites say, oh, you can't do it outside the land. Well, hold on. Historically, we have evidence. This is what they were doing. If they knew they weren't supposed to do that, then why would they even ask, can we do that? They had correspondence from Jerusalem. So they understood that that was the case. That's another topic altogether, but I just want to show you something that is stuck in history that you can't erase. It's there. You got to address it. The second one is called the Al-Yahudu tablets. Anybody heard of that? Raise your hand. Okay. Not, when you research this stuff, everything we talk about, you're going to be like, what? They did that? I had to look for a historical reference to justify what I'm doing today. Otherwise, what's written in there is just abstract. It sounds like good ideas. But did they really follow it? Do we have evidence of that? And we do. So the Al-Yahudu tablets were tablets that was written while the Israelites were in Babylonian captivity. And in there, they wrote about marriage contracts, land grants, everything that's written in there in Jeremiah, they were doing. They didn't sit and wait, chant down Babylon, waiting for some rapture or something crazy to happen. They didn't do that. They got to work. And they worked so much, now the call went out to them to say, okay, now it's time to leave, but they got so fat, they didn't want to leave. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes we miss that season to do things because we're too comfortable. God's allowing you to be comfortable for a reason, but that comfortability is only as limited as prophecy. The prophecy said you're going to be here for 70 years, then you need to make that plan for 71 years, just in case. Because we got some hard-headed people around us that might do us dirty, like what happened in the wilderness with Moses. You had a generation that say, well, I got to suffer because they disobedient. We got to stay here for 40 years because of them. Think about Joshua and Caleb. They outlived Moshe, and they had to deal with all of that nonsense until it was time to come out. By the time they got to them, it was in the 80s. Sometimes your purpose ain't fulfilled until you're much older. But you're working so selfishly to do it now. The purpose of that extension of time is to spread it across your entire community. You can go and look up this right here. Again, this will be recorded, so you'll be able to see this on YouTube if you haven't seen it, but this is a reference if you want to read additional information on that community in Elephantine Island. This is a reference, kind of small. It's a reference in regards to the Al-Yahudu tablets, what they were, and what did they contain. So there's a lot that we can learn from the history of our ancestors. And the only way that you'll know if what you're doing is correct is if you learn from your past. If not, the idiom is, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's what we're doing right now. We're repeating the same thing that they got judged for. Okay. All right, so that was all the meaty stuff. Now I'm going to give you the operation. So KHM is a ministry organization. I'm going to explain to you a little bit of how we operate. And you know what our mission is, our purpose is, what we're attempting to do, the historical justification for what we're doing. Now I'm going to show you some of our operations. You get an idea of why we're coming together and what we're trying to fulfill. All right, I'll try to get through this as quick as I can. Can somebody give me a time count? What time is it? Somebody?
8:13.
Oh, we doing good on time, 8:13. So we only did an hour, 13 minutes, right? Hour, 13, okay. So I'm going to try to get through this. As soon as I'm done with this, then we can eat. Somebody's stomach is grumbling. I hear somebody's stomach. I ain't gonna say who it is. So your hands up your stomach. You say, man, when is he gonna hurry up? We're gonna feed you. Don't worry about it. We got you. All right. So membership requirements. Okay. So the monthly dues for our membership is $50. So with $50, we get a ton of stuff done, and I'm gonna show you some of that. But we don't collect tithes. We don't collect offerings. We're not a congregation. We're not a church. We're not a camp. We do with $50, there's so many things we create with just that per month. And I'm going to show you in a second, because before I started my ministry, I was told by people that if you don't collect tithes and offerings, your ministry will not be successful. That's what I was told. So I had to go to the drawing board, and I said, you know what, that's not what Yah's telling me, but let me see if there's a case outside of that. And with just $50 membership dues, there are tons of stuff that we are accomplishing as a ministry organization. All praise to Yah. Right? Monthly membership certificate, and that's renewed every month. So that's on file with us that you can request at any time. We get them to purchase and wear a KHM t-shirt, a polo shirt, or a lapel pin with fringes and tassels. These are things that members get. And I'm going to get into the benefits and all that in a second. Attendance of at least one monthly fellowship event. So once a month, we strive to have an event where all the members in a local chapter, in this case it's Raleigh, will come together. You'll see this amount of people and even more. So before you leave, in the event that this is something you want to do, I'm not telling you you have to do it. Because even if you came here for the free food, that's fine. It may not be for you, you may want to share it with somebody, but you have to get comfortable with the faces you see here. So please talk, communicate, network. Once we're done, don't just rush out. Get somebody's number, somebody's name, somebody's face before you leave out of here, right? That you've never seen before, okay? All right? So they come together at least once a month, have a fellowship event with the objective of bringing our people together to say, okay, now how do we fix our community? You came from this congregation, that congregation, this camp, this whatever. We come together, now how can we strategize to implement that in our immediate community so we can get peace in the city? All right? We always want everybody to give one innovative idea to the organization to help us to expand, grow, and to adapt to any changes that we may face. We want people to be familiar with the organization's mission statement and charter, which I already shared a little bit of that with y'all. We want you to fulfill a role or join the team. This is not a church. You don't go in here, sign for membership, and sit in a pew and then go home afterwards. We don't want to take nothing from you unless you are doing something afterwards. It's an investment that you then have to work. You have to get active in your community, whether it's the Israelite community or the other community. We can't keep preaching to the choir. We have to put hands to the dirt in the communities out there that is a lost sheep looking for Yah, but in all the wrong places. All right? And assist with current organization services, which we're going to get in, or provide. So how many of y'all got a non-profit business, skill, trade, service, product, good, whatever in here that you do of some sort? Raise your hand. If not, when you join us, you will have one of those things. That's one of the things that we want to offer you, because we have training and a whole bunch of other stuff for different things. All right? All right, this is what the official certificate looks like. It's normally embossed. This right here is a seal or whatever. So that's just the idea of what it looks like. This is what the official t-shirt looks like. We also have a polo version of that as well as a lapel pin as well, in case something's wrong with your shirt or something like that, it's washed day or whatever. And this is an example of one of our KHM Chapter fellowship events, all right? So what we typically do is we create a theme, and around that theme is designed to bring those in our community and on the outside together. And then once we come together, we talk, we laugh, or whatever. Now it's like, all right, hey everybody, now is the time for what you really came here for, and didn't even know you came here for. What are problems you're experiencing in your community? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is how we can fix it. Hey, we got this going on. Okay, let's go to the scriptures. All right, here is something that is ideological on paper. How can we translate this into fixing that? Then you think tank, you come together, you create that solution, trial and error, you see what works, what doesn't work. Once you refine it, now you can institute it, problem fixed, what's the next issue? Next event, we bring up another issue and we deal with that. Until our community starts looking like something that we've never seen before. This is the only way we can set up our Goshens before judgment. Judgment is right around the corner. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm not telling you I know when it's going to happen. But the way things are looking, it's coming soon. And you got to be prepared for it. It's that simple. Okay? So at this event, this was from our New Orleans chapter. Shout out to Shay Mikhael. He's a brother that's over our New Orleans chapter. My brother Jamar Grant as well. And they did a theme around football because, you know, black people like football. So in New Orleans, they love the Saints. So if we put a flyer out with football, Saints, and free food, you know black people are going to show up. And that's what happened. And then so some people that came there were Israelites, some people were not Israelites, but they learned about the truth simply because they thought they were just coming for football get together. They didn't even know what they were walking into, but they walked out saying, yes, I know who I am. All praise to the Most High. And that's the goal of these events, right? Not just awaken you to the truth, but also to empower you to be proactive to doing something with it. You're only as good as the problems you fix around you. Tool, if I have a tool for the garden, you have different tools for the garden. If I take one tool, for example, if I take a hammer and something here needs to be measured and I start hitting it with the hammer, the tool's not bad, the person using it is bad. That's not how you do that. A lot of us get the truth and everything and we don't know what to do with it. So what we want to do is refine you a little bit and focus it on fixing the problems in our community, all right? All right, so chapter roles we need a director, which is an overseer of the chapter. We need administrators, Somebody does event planning, public relations manager, because people will see the stuff that we're doing and say, who are you? What are you doing? So we want to know who we are? Wait, hold on 1 second. You sure you want to keep that camera on? But you're going to learn the truth. You're going to figure this thing out. You really want to know what's going on. We have no problem telling you. We need a promotional marketing coordinator for things like that event or whatever. And merchandise coordinator, because we have merchandise as well. Some of them is up here, but we'll go over that in a second, right? So how do we generate earned revenue? Because every organization, you have two things, contributions and earned revenue. What's the difference between the two? Let's see if anybody knows.
You're providing something, someone giving you something in return.
What for this?
So
For earned revenue, right?
yes.
Okay. And then what is contributions?
When someone like a donation.
Without anything in exchange, physically, right? Alright, so we sell merchandise through a form of mixtapes, and this fall we're working on creating our music group. So we're actually creating a music label for only Israelites. So it's not open for nobody else. We're gonna pay for whole studio albums. So whatever that studio time is, we're gonna do the cover of your album, we're gonna do your promotional, we're gonna get you on mainstream channels to get the truth, music app, etc. like that. Everything so that way a person who's a musician in the community does not have to struggle, does not have to compromise in order for them to fulfill what God's given them to do. Right? So the mixtapes is a way to kind of get the, some artists out there so people can know who these artists are, patronize them, etc. And now the next step is to create an environment or an ecosystem that artists can get embedded in and be able to take their craft to the four corners of the earth and reach our people, right? T-shirts and other shirts and other items, calendars, we also have a calendar system, and other products and goods, right? Services, Jubilee Main Mission program, is really a program, I don't know why I put services there, but that was the old one, where we do debt elimination and credit repair. I don't know how many people in here needs their credit repaired or debt eliminated, but we get rid of that. It's like if you see these derogatory remarks, like we fight over it. And then in one of my previous, I think it was in DMV, on YouTube, I tell you how that's done so you can do it yourself. Because we give free consultation for this. We pretty much tell you what to do. But sometimes people want us to do it for them, so that's a fee. But if you want to know how to do it, we tell you how to do it. Right? Because it's very difficult to do a lot of stuff if you're hammered down with that. Right? The Naturopathic Eating Program is a naturopathic health consultation program. Some of that's right here, so I'll go into that maybe later while we walk around talking and stuff like that. But pretty much, this is our health program. So what we do is we educate people on alternative medicine, that's what they labeled it, or naturopathic medicine, or best practices in that realm of medicine. So that way you can apply it and have a very efficient and inexpensive way of taking care of your ailments and sicknesses, diseases, and all that. So we offer that as a program for free. Right? So the reason why we're creating programs like this is because we have a lot of communications with governmental and non-governmental agencies to bring us on, or outsourcers to provide these programs to Black and brown communities. Because we've seen that the programs that's there, a lot of it is city-sponsored, state-sponsored, whatever, they're not really doing a good job, right? So we want to step in and say, hey, look what we've done, this is our service, let's get into constant communication. So now when we get the contract, look, we Israelites doing this. We get that contract, they're gonna let us talk to all these Black people, fix their problems, and on top of that, get them to patronize us and us to patronize them and let them know who they are. This is a wonderful opportunity. These people are already in need. The gospel is supposed to go to those who are in need. Yes. The ones who have may not care for it. The ones who are needy, they the ones that the Most High tells us to target. Right? Fringe just came off. Oh, nobody said nothing to me. Y'all looking at me. Nobody looking at my fringes. But I get fringe check. Every time I walk past the camp, where your fringes at? That's how I know you're so engaged and enamored by this presentation, you didn't even realize my fringes are. I'm just playing with y'all, all right? So we offer programs, and we have tons more programs than this, and I can share with you all the time. I just want to get through this presentation. Where we create programs because we say, okay, look, if we have Torah culture, how can we turn this into a viable solution for societal ill in the community? Debt is a big issue. Health is a big issue. When somebody dies, where are you taking them to? A church funeral home? A Jewish funeral home? Why are we letting them bury our own when our ancestors didn't even do that? So we have a need for that. So we have programs, and the purpose of a program is to resolve a societal ill at no cost. We enroll you in a program, we teach you, train you, educate you, whatever, and then send you off. Unless you come back and say, hey, I need help, then there's a fee for it. Our services that we offer are subscription-based model, right? Some of our services includes our Israelite Security Defense Force. What is that? Now, how many are familiar with the NOI? Raise your hand. Nation of Islam. Yes. All right. How many are familiar with the Fruit of Islam? Okay. So Fruit of Islam is like the security wing of the Nation of Islam. Where is it at in your Israelite community? You don't got it. So what we do is we have a situation where people want that type of protection at any given time. You pay a subscription fee every month, so in the event that you have some kind of issue, danger, whatever, we can deploy brothers to go and secure the situation.
Nice.
Not only that, that's good, right? Not only that, we want to create refuge hubs. So if somebody's trying to kill you, take your life, or something like that, and I don't know what that may entail, maybe some end of time stuff, I don't know. But where's our refuge places at? In scripture, we have refuge cities.
That's right.
We don't got no safe houses anywhere. Where's your safe house if something happens to you? Where can you go? So people pay for it, so if something happens, they get the instructions on where to go, and we don't tell them in advance because we don't want nobody to compromise it. But when it happens, we tell you exactly where to go. You go to the safe house, we secure you, we protect you until we find out what's going on. A lot of times it's helpful for domestic violence situations, or if somebody's being threatened by a gang or something like that. We need to take care of our own. So we're creating services, subscription-based services, so that you pay, we take care of it. We also are in the process of our KHM virtual homeschooling service that I told you about earlier, and also our emergency delivery services. So in East Texas, when they recently had that power outage, remember that? The power went out, people was going crazy, stuff like that. I experienced that because in New York, I think the whole Northeast had a whole grid that went out, and the power went out in New York. That was crazy. New York City had 9 million people. That was the wildest thing I ever seen, right? People jumping on the bus and riding on the back of the bus to get home because it was the only bus that was running. It's crazy. Anyway, so when that happened, a lot of those people needed relief. When Katrina happened, we needed relief. You sitting there waiting on a check from FEMA? Right. Why Israelites ain't taking care of their own? Where's our warehouses that we have resources stocked in, so when somebody says, hey, I had an emergency, I need help. I need that toilet paper. We're going to make sure we got more toilet paper than anything else. So that way, you make a phone call, hey, I'm paying subscription services for this emergency. Generally, this is the emergency that we have in our community. Can you send a truck to deliver? We say, hey, we got X amount in our inventory. We're going to put it on a truck, and the next truck that's going towards you is going to drop it off. We have tons of Israelites that are truckers in the community. They go on all types of routes. We pay them. They take those items and they bring it to the closest person that's requesting assistance. We ain't got to wait for FEMA. Why are we waiting for FEMA? So we're creating these things because we're looking at all the problems and saying, hey, the reason why half the people in our community can't get to y'all, they have secular issues. It ain't being addressed. It ain't being taken care of. It's not that some people don't want to do it, they just have a lot of other life issues. But we should be involved, invested in what those issues are and provide a solution to fix them. That's our obligation to our brother and sister. That's what Torah is. How do you show love to your brother and sister? Respect their boundaries. Don't stand by idly if you see something happen. So then you get involved. This is part of the culture. You have to live it out. Sounds good on paper. Sounds good to stand there and read it. Sounds good to teach it, but you're not doing it. Amen. Okay. All right. So this is like some of the merchandise that we have. This is our new calendar that we are working on. It's crazy because it should have been released, but it didn't release yet, which is crazy. But these are some of the images that was hand-drawn by a sister in the organization. She created these images, other images, so each one has an image of something that represents part of our culture. This one is representing the gleaners that go through in the harvest, like Ruth. And then this right here is the Jubilee period, or the time of year when you start the feast. There's a lot of festival activities like dancing with tambourines and stuff like that. So we try to showcase our culture, the people that look like us, so when children are looking at this, they can also identify with it. And this sister, this year, she decided, hey, why don't we do something that looks more anime-ish? Because, some people are into anime, but they left it when it came into truth, because there's nothing in truth with anime stuff. So we said, oh, let's create a niche for that so people don't get tempted to go back, but they can get something that's their own. that they can own. So we did a kind of anime kind of twist on the previous year's calendar. That's our mixtape, volume 3, which is out now. You can get it. If you want to get it, but that's the one that we just released. I think it was like a week ago, we just released it. But we didn't put it out publicly yet because we're going to do an album release party. Those are some of the t-shirts that we have. I have a few of them over here, and we have tons of others. I think we have like 12 designs altogether. But that's some of the merchandise that we offer so we can raise money, right? These are the services that I went over you. Jubilee Mania Mission. Every service we create has a biblical concept behind it. Jubilee. What's the Jubilee?
Release the debt. Return back to your...
Okay, and manumission means what? How many of y'all have studied slavery in antebellum South?
Freedom.
Y'all should, because if y'all from the South, below that, what's that called? The Mason-Dixon line? Y'all should know some history about slavery. All right, because they put enough of those TV shows out there. I think they got a recent one now called the Underground Railroad. Y'all seen that? How many of y'all have seen that? Right, that's a new one they putting out. They just giving it. Say, hey, you want some stuff to identify with? Throw you some slave stories. You know what I say? Can you make some about revolts? Oh, no, we can't do that. You know there's over 200 slave revolts? And that was one of the main things that was pushing legislation for the North to say, hey, the South can't exist at this rate. They fighting back. A lot of people don't know about it. I have a whole book. I wish I would have brought it with me if you're interested in reading over 200 slave revolts. From ships that they turned over. Some of y'all seen Amistad. You seen that movie? That's a real story. Give us free. That's a real story. But they also revolted when they got over here. Matter of fact, some of them came over here, like a lot of Igbo slaves that they didn't want, because what happened was the Igbo slaves said, look, I don't know where the heck we are. We in these chains. We're together. What they was doing was backing into a creek and drowning themselves because they refused to be slaves. They don't teach your kids this history. There's so much resistance in the Caribbean islands because they got their independence first. You think it was because Master was like, oh, we're going to leave them alone. They was fighting and killing down there. They did not take no slack, and they were able to maintain their culture. Integration mainly happened here in mainland America. Caribbean, they maintain a lot of their cultural practices that go back to where they come from. That gets to show you what they can do with you if they get you to integrate. A lot of people, at first, we didn't sign up for that. We already had our own community because we were forced to do that. They wouldn't hire us. They gave us no job, so they said, we'll kick you off plantation. Oh, you want to come back on? Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to rent this plot of land for us, but you got to work like a slave to own it. Then they put vagrancy laws. That means if you're caught not working, you're going to jail. Then they created the convict leasing program. Once they get you in jail, hey, now we're going to rent you back out to slave master. You ain't going nowhere. Pig laws, you get hungry, you find some animal, try to claim it as yours, there's a runaway, whatever. Some white person says, hey, no, that's mine. You going to jail. Black codes keep you from getting employment. So we couldn't do anything. So they said, you know what? Let's just work together. We were forced to work together. Israelites went into captivity, and 1,000 years past, our ancestors, they were forced to survive. They said the only way we could do it is working amongst ourselves. And the moment that they saw we were becoming strong, Tulsa, Oklahoma, hey, let's destroy that. No Black Wall Street. Y'all can't have that. Y'all doing too much by yourselves. Hey, don't you want integration? Look at all the stuff we can give you over here. Don't you like this? Don't you like that? Yeah. And then that's what we did. We fought to integrate into society that they cared nothing about us. Matter of fact, it made things worse. It broke our homes up, and they gave us welfare. Welfare does not benefit married families. Did you know that? If you have a man in the house, he ain't give you no welfare. Why are we going to give you got a man in the house? Let him go get a job. Doesn't matter if the job market is prejudiced towards him, stereotyping him, doesn't matter. You got a man? Nah, we can't give you nothing if you got a man. Oh, you ain't got a man? Oh, here, we're going to sign you up for this, and that. That's the welfare state. Get you to rely on them by keeping the homes broken. Oh, your kids is acting up in school? Yeah, they may have ADHD. Let's give them some medication. Make them drug users. And you wonder why they're growing up getting other drugs, because they're already in the culture of drugs. Getting them medicated at school. Take them to the child psychiatrist. Oh, yeah, he needs drugs, he needs medications. Otherwise, he's going to keep. No, because as young black boys, as an example, they're very active. That's how they learn. That's how they move. That's part of their nature. They want to control it because they want to feminize our men. They don't want us to tap into our masculine. When you do it, they say it's toxic. So they find ways around it. But if you go back to our culture is designed to protect us from the outside white noise so we can continue honing to the frequency that God's trying to speak to us on. Okay. All right? So our contributions from our membership dues, PayPal donations, YouTube revenue, Cash App donations, and cash donations when we do lectures, events, fundraisers. So I'm showing you everything that's going on with our organization so you know everything that's going on. go reconstruct and restore culture back to our community so we can get the blessings. So many people keep talking to me about curses. But what if you keep in Torah? Scripture says the chapter starts out, they're saying, if you hearken unto my voice, keep my statutes, laws, commandments, and these blessings will come upon you. Why do we skip over that? Because we're so used to being downtrodden, beaten, bruised, that the best thing you can tell anybody as being an Israelite, it's because you got curses on you, right? Well, when can I get these blessings? Can I get it in captivity? That's the key thing. Well, Deuteronomy 30 says, even in exile, restore your fortunes. If you hearken unto my statute, laws, and commandments. The blessings and the curses. You know what a conjunction is? Takes two different clauses and puts them together. You can't have curses without blessings. Where's the example of blessings in our community today? From righteous, upright people who are keeping Torah and taking care of their community. Where's it at? Show me one. If not, then we have to do it. That's it. If you can't find it, don't complain. Say, okay, that means I got to do it. That's why I stopped asking y'all for stuff. I asked him for something, he says, okay, now you go do it. I'm like, what? I'm just saying, I got this. You go do it. I'm like, all right, yeah, all right. All right, raise capital so we can provide stipends for volunteers, so people will volunteer in our organization would pay out stipends to them. What's the stipend? Anybody?
It's remuneration for the time, but it's not paid, but it's just an offset.
There you go. It offsets your daily expenses, right? So if you need to commute, it takes care of commuting, or you need some money for lunch or whatever. So we try to provide stipends based on what we raise. Whatever we can raise, we can give more, may give less, but the objective is to maintain our volunteers until we can employ them. That's our goal. We want to be able to create an opportunity so people can do ministry as a livelihood. So they don't have to compromise, but you fulfill your purpose, and the Most High is allowing you to raise capital to take care of your home and your secular expenses, right? To provide subscription-based services and 3 programs that I mentioned to you earlier, establish more community improvement projects. Our goal is to fix issues in the community because we have the best culture on the planet.
Yes.
And if it's that great, it cannot be hid. That light can't be hid under bed. Everybody got to see this. They say, whenever these Israelites is in town, things get fixed. I don't know how they doing it. I don't know how it's happening. But do we have that reputation? No. That's the reputation that we should have no matter where we are at, because we are wearing his name.
Yes.
Anytime you go and get designer clothes, you take a designer clothes, anywhere you go, people know the clothes by its name. Oh man, that's a good Versace that you got on. I like that. Oh, that's nice. Fendi. Oh, they know it by its name. The name gives it value. What about y'all?
Come on now.
How much value are you bringing to y'all's name?
Come on now.
If you ain't taking care of the stuff in your community, then why would they respect his name? That's what's on the line, not yours.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Make investments to provide security for future events. That means we need to have things in place so if anything happens in our community, we can take care of it. Security is very important, and our community does not have the best security because it's not designed with us in mind. It's designed with enforcing policies on us that are adverse to our survival. When you don't get involved in the politics in your city, then whatever happens, happens. Code enforcement, you probably had a chance to go in and, when they have elections time and to vote, they have a referendum that says, hey, look, do you want this to be on code enforcement when we go into your community? You're not going to vote. You don't see that. People vote for it, and guess what? Now your home is jacked up. You have all these code infractions simply because you didn't vote against it. And you have opportunities where you can remove some of these codes off the books, and you have opportunities where you can remove people out of office. I did a whole lecture on it. I did videos on this. You're interested in how to take care of your community, we have tons of videos to show you how to do it. Don't let anybody make you think that you have no power. You do. And when you walk uprightly, you have even more power. Because that ruach is so strong in you people, they just experience it. And they don't understand how are you changing things. Whenever this person comes around, things change. For the better, not for the worse. For the better. We have all these other communities outclassing us. But yet we have the greatest God on the planet. I don't understand how that works. I don't know. All right, to become an angel investment entity. What is an angel investment entity? Anybody knows what an angel investment entity is?
Investing in secret, they remain anonymous.
That too. But so let's say, for example, Jay-Z. Right? Jay-Z's worth $1 billion. Kanye West is actually worth more than Jay-Z. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, so let's say somebody like Jay-Z, and let's say we had a PR and we have PR reps. Go to Jay-Z and say, look, KHM is what we do in the community. Jay-Z sees it and said, man, I like that. I'm gonna give you $1 million. But I just want 10% on this, this, and that. And I don't want my name out there. But I'm gonna invest in it because I like the cause, but if I come out public with it, I may lose some endorsements. He can't come out and say, hey, I'm funding this Israelite group. You know what'll happen? Everybody will pull their stock out of it. Because we're just not trending like that yet. Why? Because we have not displayed our value to communities yet. We have to change the narrative about an Israelite. The first thing somebody hears about Israelite, they think, oh, we Bible thumpers on the corner, yelling, screaming, calling people names, trying to start fights. That's what they think. Sometimes people don't want to come out to the truth. It's like, how can I tell my family I'm an Israelite? Because they're going to think I'm a terrorist, I'm crazy. Because we don't have enough public relations out there and enough of us in the cities doing active work where people come out and say, oh, these are Israelites. Oh, I see. This is them boys. This is them girls. This is them girls. Oh, okay. So now when you see that, everybody's going, oh man, can you come and do this? Can you come and do that? And we'll say yes, but according to our terms and conditions. We'll never compromise what Yah has given us when we are calling the shots. But if you're begging for crumbs, you're going to compromise everything you can just to take care of your family. We can't live like that no more. All right? All right, establish partnerships with other organizations with similar goals. Establish an HMO. What's the HMO? Health maintenance organization. Give me an example of what an HMO is in an everyday life scenario. Give me an example. Easy an example. If I hire you for a job, what's the first thing you're going to ask me? Oh, what's your compensation package? It's not just your pay, it's also the benefits. So benefits is an HMO, is a health management organization that contracts with that job to provide medical services to the person who is getting hired for that role. Correct? Got it? Yep. All right. However, we are creating an in-house HMO, health management organization, because the current system is broken and is not designed to fix issues. It's designed to manage. How many people have worked in medical billing and coding? Raise your hand. Okay. If you look at a lot of those codes for medical billing and coding, none of it has to do with fixing anything. It's the maintenance and management of healthcare services. They're not there to fix something. You don't have a recurring business model if you fix problems. In the medical industry, you got to manage it. Wow. Think about it. If the doctor cures you, you ain't coming back. Oh, he's going to lose his money. But if he manages it, you got to keep coming back. And then I keep making money until, you're not here no more. But at least I use it to pay my yacht. Then I give you prescription medication because we have some random person that knows nothing about medication that comes to you to sell you drugs for a pharmaceutical company and say, look, this is a new drug that we're going to market. Somebody has A, B, C, D, F, and G symptoms. Yeah, give him this one now. So he buys a stock and he has to get rid of that stock. So therefore, you tell him symptoms, oh, I think it's this, and gives you that prescription. Then over 5 years, oh, you know what? We gave you the wrong prescription. There's a recall on it, and we're sorry that you got side effects. Too late then. He's not trying to fix the problem. He's managing it. That does not help for our community. So with Naturopathic Eden, even though we do health conversation services as a program, we're going to morph into an HMO. So we can provide, check this out, we can provide insurance for people who want to go to homeopathic, naturopathic, and alternative medicine services. Yeah. Because a lot of times you don't have that option, and if you try to go that route, you got to pay out of pocket. Right. So we're creating an HMO to cover all of that. So we can teach people that insurance is only in the event of. Think about that. If you just want a checkup, you shouldn't be using insurance. Nothing is wrong with you. You're just getting a daily checkup. But that's not what we think. We think insurance is there to take care of medical things. It's only supposed to be in the event of. Because you're making a claim every time you go in there. That's what's happening. It's a business. It's not designed to fix you. Do you understand? So that's why we want to create this, so we have that in-house so we can fix these issues. And anybody that signs up for our HMO, two things. You are given bonuses based on the amount of people you bring in and the amount of people you keep out. But what? I see your face like, huh? The amount of people you bring in, the amount of people you get kickback for that. So if we see you brought in 100 people and 80 of them are not coming back, you're doing an excellent job. You understand? Yeah. But if you have 100 people and 100 of them is coming back, then you're doing a terrible job. Something's not right. So there's a way, it has to be a reward system for best health practices when it comes to dealing with issues at a root cause level. And that's what we want to promote, all right? Establish peace in our cities. You already know that, so we may have peace. Establish a safe haven hub for Israelites not connected with anybody. A lot of times people reach out to me, random online, in some city I've never heard of, and I said, what third world country is that? No, that's in America. I said, I'm sorry. It sounds like some foreign country, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't got nobody here, just me on the farm or something crazy like that. And I'm like, wow. So in that area, we should have some kind of hub that those individuals can go to in case they need resources, protection, aid, advice, whatever the case may be. So we want to use our resources to create that, but we need help. You know what I'm saying? We need resources, and we found a way in order to do that, all right? And to create and govern a network of resources for our autonomy and awaken and prepare our community for Yah's soon-to-come kingdom, all right? Benefits is we want to provide free health care for all of our members. So we're working on getting Natural into an HMO in about 3 or 4 years if everything works out well, and you get free health insurance, or health care, I don't like that insurance, health care, right? You receive volunteer stipends for working with us or even full-blown employment. We're going to transition from part-time to full-time. Those governmental and non-governmental contracts that we are trying to get based on the programs we're offering, we're using that money to employ people to do that job. Not to be volunteers, but to employ them to do that job. The subscription-based services that we're collecting to provide services, we're trying to use that to employ people and give them a job. We even have project managers. We have about maybe 40 project managers that we're working with, and their job is to churn out these services, churn out these programs, so that way we can bring in more revenue to take care of everybody in the house. And every member who's part of KHM that ever has a financial issue, if you are paying us or giving us money so you can be active and involved, and something happens, you got to pay your light bill, your rent, whatever the case may be, we can cut you a check. You should be able to go to somebody in your community and say, look, I've been giving this, I needed help one time, and I'm going to be honest, I was part of this church, I'm paying tithes, offerings, pastor. I don't even know why I'm paying the pastor for Appreciation Day. I don't know what the heck that is. I tried to find it in the Bible, I didn't find it there. Pastor Appreciation Day, okay, new building fund. On top of already giving an offering and tithes. What the heck you doing with the offerings and tithes then? Mismanaging it. So you got to ask for more money. So one time I'm paying all this stuff. Go to church and say, hey, look, I'm having this economic issue. I would like some assistance. What? Brother, you need to go back and pray on it. I was totally confused when I heard that. They had me so convinced that I did something wrong. I stopped asking them for anything. But when I got back on my feet, I kept giving back to them. It's crazy. But we never want to have that mentality in the truth. Because that is us making a business off of our brothers and sisters, and God is against that. That's why if you loan somebody money who's in need in the community, you cannot charge interest. No usury has to be charged. And the reason why y'all said this is because the moment you do that, it becomes a business transaction. Once it becomes a business transaction, now the relationship changes. You're not my brother no more. It's the debitor and the creditor. Where's my money? Then you'll have this tension where that person will try to avoid you because they ain't got it. And all types of, Yah says, because you were in Egypt, and you had to do A, B, and C, and you come out, you cannot treat your brother and sister that way. Now, how does that look like if we was to pass that into a legal legislation in our community? So if we was to look at that and say, okay, how can we take this and make it practical to the point where we can turn it into a local policy in our community? You can do that. There's tons of stuff written on this stuff. But we have to think outside the box when it comes to this wall. All right, become debt-free, access to a network of in-house resources. So again, we want to provide everything, a one-stop shop ecosystem. Then when you wake up in the truth, you got everything there. 50% of the people that I've surveyed over the past 5 years, and I asked them why they leave the community. There's a lot of reasons, but the main reason is, ain't no resources. If I need this, I go to Christian church down the block. I need this, I can go to the federal government, I can go to state government, the local government, I can go here, there, but here, there's nothing there. The lack of counseling, lack of advice here, lack of resources, lack of jobs, so they leave. Dangerous. But if I convert to a Muslim, I could go right here to this mosque community, get everything I need. I'm a Christian, I go to this community, so they can go elsewhere, and now they don't need to stay here. And that's a problem, because that causes you to compromise. Now, Yah does not like compromise, and if we can help it, we should not be compromising, all right? Having a team to assist you. Sometimes you may have an idea and say, man, this would be great. Israel can do it, but you have no team to work with you. We give you the bodies. We give you the resources, say, get it done. If it's not there and you see that we need it, create it, and we'll support it. All right? Fellowships that we have, Restorative culture through research and application. That's the scholarship side of what we do. A lot of y'all know Divine for being on the YouTube screen just teaching stuff. Sometimes I bring trolls on and I just deal with the trolls. Sometimes you see me in the community. Sometimes you do all types of stuff. But the research stuff is good because it's like, that's the building blocks. But once you have a foundation, you got to build a house on it. You got to build something as a result of having the foundation. So we make sure you have the proper research and application so when you go to do something, you yield consistent and repeatable results. Yes. All right? Because if you pray, and you pray in 10 years for something, it ain't happening, something's wrong. Maybe you're not doing it right. Maybe you don't even know what prayer is. What does prayer mean in Hebrew? Somebody tell me what prayer means in Hebrew. Raise your hand. What's the Hebrew word for prayer? Okay, palau. What does that mean? Look at that. I got quiet. Say, I know the word. Wait, I got to tell you what it means. What does palau mean? It's an open book test. You can open up your app. Go to BibleHub.com, BlueLetterBible.com. Go ahead, check it out. Watch this. I'm going to blow your mind. Somebody pick it up. Tell me what prayer is, and somebody tell me what meditation is. Let me see how good students y'all are. Let's see. You got a lot of future teachers and scholars in here, and the kids are just attentive watching everything. This is amazing. I thought the kids would be all over the place. Y'all children are disciplined. All praise to the Most High. Okay, go ahead. Intervene. What else?
Interpose.
Intervene. Go ahead. Intervene. So you praying for intervention. Keep going.
Interpose.
Interpose.
To meditate.
Okay. What else?
Judge.
Wait. Say that again.
Judge.
That's the key word. Prayer means something is being judged. When you pray, are you asking Yah for something, or are you telling him to judge you to get you right so you can receive that which you're asking for? We're not doing that. I listen to prayers where people say, they ain't not asking Yah to search me, like it said in the song, search me, O Yah. Because sometimes I may ask you for something and get it and not know what to do with it, or do the wrong thing with it. Judgment starts with you first. That's what palau means. If you go look at it as a cognitive of other words and sister languages, and the root word, it means to judge so that intervention can take place. Without a judgment, intervention can't be done. If you go to court, same thing in the natural world. You go to court, you go to jail, whatever the case may be. In order for you to get something, or let's say you make an appeal in civil court, in order for you to get something, a judgment must be made. Right? Yes? No?
Yes.
And then something can be given. Y'all not asking y'all to judge it. Some people don't want y'all to search it because there's some things they don't want no light shine upon. Right? But it's a relationship with y'all. Right? The scripture says it is a great matter when a thing is concealed by a friend. Right? So sometimes you don't have an outlet to even talk to somebody else. Right? So your prayers is designed for you to receive intervention based on an already meted out judgment. Something has already been judged for your life because you did some kind of action. This is the course of action. You feel it's unfavorable to you, so you want Yah to intervene so he can appeal that judgment. And in the process of appealing that judgment, the objective is to put you back on the right track so you have no hindrances in fulfilling his will. That's prayer.
Could you repeat that?
Okay, I know. I can't repeat it exactly the same. But pretty much the purpose of praying is to ask for an appeal based on something that has already been judged out. So let's say, for example, you, cheat on your taxes or something. I'm just going to use something weird, right? And then you got the IRS coming after you. What you going to do? Yah, please deliver me from this, Yah. But you did something wrong, so you have to own up to that. You can't ask Yah to intervene because you purposely did something wrong. You have to allow yourself to be judged. So sometimes it's accepting the consequences to show that you're owning it. So now Yah says, okay, you've been judged, and now that you owned up to it, now I will honor your request. Amen. Wow. Same thing with the appeal process. How many of y'all seen Ronnie O'Neal's case? Y'all know about that? Yes. That guy that killed his girlfriend and his daughter and tried to kill his son and burn the house down? Yeah. The one that defends himself in court with the hair sticking out? Y'all see that? That's all over the media. Okay. Well, the point I'm trying to make is, after that judgment has been made, like, okay, you're getting life in prison, guess what? He can appeal it. So the judgment has already been made, but now he can still go get an appeal. And that appeal will be based on any changes in your behavior or lifestyle since that judgment has been rendered out. So if you're asking Yah to do something, you have to prove that some change has occurred. Because why would he keep rewarding bad behavior? And sometimes some of you are praying for people that need to be judged. Amen. You get in the way of judgment. Some people do that. He told Jeremiah, stop praying for those people, man. You're doing too much. Why would he tell you to stop praying? I was in church, they prayed all the time. Pray for everybody. Then I read the Bible. He told Jeremiah, stop praying for the people. And told them the condition that a person is in where you have to just stop praying for them. Because they need to be judged. You are getting in the way. When Abraham was saying, okay, if there's 20 people there, will you spare it? But what about the 1,000 people there doing wickedness? At some point, those 20 people in there with 1,000 people wicked, they're going to compromise at some point. Unless they leave out of there. So we can't keep getting in the way of God's judgment. Sometimes we just got to let him work. That's it. Because otherwise, how will that person learn? Okay, that was just a little side. I'm sorry. Learn how to become an asset for a cause greater than yourself. A lot of times people say, well, I'm just a regular Joe. I'm a regular Jane. I can't do nothing. What can I do? That's the wrong attitude. You wouldn't be here if that was the case. If you're here, there's some kind of purpose that's driving you to get something done. And if you don't know how to tap into it, we'll show you how to do it. Okay? All right. And learn how to live a set-apart life through autonomy and preparation of Yah's arrival. The key thing is, are we ready for Yah to judge? Are we ready for him to judge? How many things do you have invested in the secular world that you will lose if Yah judges today? Before you left out here, you heard, oh, the economy just tanked and this and that and that. Can you say, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm good. Let's go back to my little Goshen community and we straight. All right, y'all work that thing out. Yeah, we're going to be over here. If you're not at that point, then you're not ready for Yah to judge. Because at some point, you're going to be praying, Yah, please spare this place. I got these investments in cryptocurrency, Yah. Come on, Yah, don't do that just yet. Give me some time, Yah. Are there 20 righteous people investing in cryptocurrency? If so. I'm just playing with you. I set an example. But you have to be to a point where no matter what Yah does, we are in alignment with his will, and we don't have to step in the way. We've already told our family and friends, look, this is what Yah has woke me up to do. This is the truth that I discovered. They either accept it or they don't. Why keep beating them over the head with it?
Right.
You plant the seed and walk away. You can't control the rain, so the rain got to do its job. You let something else water it, and then maybe over time you can do a check-in. When I learned in this truth, I learned by telling my family members about it, wasn't always the most effective means of getting it accomplished, it was just living it. I just lived it.
Yeah.
And after a while, they saw the prosperity a little bit, improvement in health, extension of life, open opportunities. They started seeing these things. Then they want to come and say, okay, yeah, what's going on over there? I said, oh, remember I was telling you about A, B, and C? Yeah, this is the result of it. Sometimes you can't expect people to see your harvest if you just planted a seed. It don't work that way. It takes time. Are you willing to wait it out? Are you willing to just be focused on what God's called you to do and just let them watch? They're spectators. The moment you wake up, you in the game. They're still on the sideline. How can I, being an NBA player, go and say, okay, you know what? Our sixth man, let me get Joe Blow from out the stands. Come on over here and jump in the game. They're not there yet. Let them spectate. Let them watch. And at some point, if it's Yah's will, he'll bring them in the game. Okay? All right, so with that being said, that's it. We're done. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Or yes.
What if you have a family member that believes in other religions and like you try to share the truth with them, but they're not they're like, what? What do you mean? And they're not very open. They want to believe what they want to believe.
How old are you?
I'm about to ask the same question.
How old are you?
9.
9? Wow. And what's your name?
Yeah,
You are doing a phenomenal job. This girl is on point. All praise to the Most High. Now, I wasn't here to talk about this, but because a child asked me, I'm going to answer that. So, I'm going to say a little bit, but there's a video that I have on YouTube, and Mom, you can pick it up. It's called Awakened, Now What? Just put DivineProspect, Awakened, Now What? In that video, I answered that very question that she just asked, right? So, in summary, if you share it, and say, hey, look, I just want to let you know, don't freak out, because you're going to see some things change on my social media. All right, don't freak out. Don't freak out. Just see, I'll give you a call, what's all this? I said, okay, I just told you don't freak out. You're freaking out. But the first thing is to kind of introduce them to it, right? And introduction to something is not expecting them to know everything. If I want to teach somebody algebra, who has not even gone past pre-calculus, how can I get them into calculus? Well, they have to know the basic algebra, pre-cal, and then calculus. So I can't talk about stuff at this high level, and they're not even there yet. So I gotta meet them where they're at. Try to build a bridge so I can then walk them over to where I'm at, and that takes time. It takes based on your patience, your willingness to listen, your quickness to hear their concerns, why they refuse to accept it. It's going to transform your character if you allow it. The purpose of you sharing it is not just, oh yeah, I got to fit me in the truth. The purpose of it is how can sharing this with somebody who don't want to accept it can work on my character. Is that a character building moment? If it's not, then you're going about it the wrong way. All my interactions with people is, yeah, how can you transform my character to work with this person? Sometimes it makes you humble. If you're willing to be humble, sometimes you're not ready to be humble, so it's not time for you to share that with the family member. Sometimes you may have too much zeal, and it may overwhelm somebody. It's not your time to share with that individual. You know yourself better than anybody else. You must pace yourself. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. So that means you can't just, oh yeah, I'm all excited. A lot of times that burns out, and somebody cannot maintain the walk, and they go do something else. So they simply have to watch you. And they can watch you day to day to see that your character is changing, to see that the principles you're learning from Torah is allowing you to be a better person towards your friends, your family members, etc. The way you walk, the way you dress is modest and so forth. After a while, they're going to say, how can we get her swag? I like that. If you can influence your friends more than they can influence you, then you're doing a good job. But if it's the other way around, something's wrong. So it takes time. So if you go back and watch that video with your mom, I use very easy to pick up words. I'm not too deep in there because I'm talking to a general public. Some of people in there weren't even Israelites. Some of them were Christians, but they heard about this thing and they want to learn more about it. And I told people, what is the next step once you awaken, and how do you convey that to people that you love, friends and family members? All right? So that's just a start for your journey. Yes?
Similar question. I guess with the many different belief systems, even within the Israelites.
Okay, wait, before you say that. Now, does anybody have a question based on the presentation? Because I could talk to y'all about anything in the world. I don't mind that. I just want to get this part up first, because otherwise we can eat, talk, and whatever. Does anybody have a question based on the presentation? It's based on the presentation? Okay, good. I'm sorry.
So even within the chapter, I'm sure you have Hebrew, Israelite, Christians, Black Jews, you got the crowd, Church of God and Saints. We got all that here in North Carolina. So when you're talking about the calendar, feast days, I'm sure there's some issues there.
So that's not what this is about.
Okay, I saw the calendar. I didn't
Yeah,
know
well, that's just merchandise that we sell.
Okay.
Yeah, even if somebody doesn't subscribe to it, to get it just to look at imagery and stuff like that. It's just merchandise. When we get together, we're not here to talk about theology. We're not here to argue about the calendar. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to say, okay, we all agree with Israelites, right? Yes. We all subscribe to Torah. Yeah, yes. Most of us are Messianic, some are not. Okay, yes. The main thing is, how can we take this stuff we're reading from the Bible and turn it into a solution for an issue in the community? We're always going to have differences. You cannot change that. So what about the things that is the common denominator? And we can work on the common denominator, then we can build a bridge to deal with the numerators that makes us distinct. But if you're not working on the common denominators first, like, okay, yes, we know Torah says no usury, right? Don't charge interest. Well, y'all are just giving out loans to people and expecting them to pay you back with more money. We already know that that's wrong. It's a no-no because it changed the relationship, explain the principle of the thing. And then once we see change in the community, now we own our own stuff. Now we can create a stage where we can discuss it, debate it, whatever. But if we don't have resources, then why even work our energy to the things that cause division? It's just a waste of time. It's not fixing anything. Yes?
Okay, so my question is kind of a landing back off of that. So like when you deal with opening a new chapter, what are some of the things you expect to see up front? Some of the first steps that you start to see to know that you're moving in the right direction.
So I gave you 3 prerequisites, right? Everybody agreed on those prerequisites. Once we agree to that, then we can move on and do everything else that we're talking about. Creating a service, right? So I talked about Jubilee main mission. I looked at the community. We have a lot of debt. Let's go to the Bible. What does the Bible say? Oh, the Jubilee is there. Hey, do y'all all agree that the Jubilee is talking about the release of captives? Yes. Now, how can we take that concept and fix this problem? That's how it works. Not, okay, let's dig it on the calendar, and at some point we can fix this problem. It don't work that way. We have to find something that we agree on in the text that is a solution, and then say, how can we translate that to the real world? That's our objective at KHM. Because if you can do that, you know how to actively take ancient wisdom and make it apply today. And able to repeat this process so you can continue to yield the same results. That's why we're coming together for KHM. That's what KHM is there to do. That's why I say you can subscribe to whatever you want to subscribe to, but if you agree to those 3 things and we can look at the text as a blueprint to fix the community, that's what we're here to do. All right? Anything outside of that could be other chat and discussions we have, but when we come together to meet as a Raleigh chapter, that's what we're here to do. Right? Because once we walk outside that door, we can argue all we want. We're going to go back to the same problems that we all experience. No solutions, no fixes. We think y'all, so we looking at us like, look at this, look at that. Arguing over there and they're going back to the same problem. So we're trying to say, hey, we can talk about those little things, but that's not the focus of why we're here. Even that can be restricted to things you talk within your camp congregation. But once you finish your doxology, your worship, fellowshipping, now it's like, all right, I need something to do. I have these issues in the community, we gotta fix them. Let's come together, think tank it, look in the text, create a solution. We can come, we can vote on it. Hey, how many of y'all want to do this? Okay, cool. Let's make this into a solution and let's apply it and see what happens. That's the goal. All right? Yes.
So comment and question, right?
Yes.
The comment is that I always say to people, you know, back in the day when Israel was together in any form or fashion in the land, everybody was an Israelite. The Zealots were Israelites. The Sanhedrin they were all Israelites. And that's what we're missing in a great sense. And I think your idea seems to deal with that or approach it from that perspective, that everybody's an Israelite. And whether you're a Zealot or you're this or you're that, that's a secondary issue from the nation perspective.
Correct.
So, but my comment and my question really is, what kind of case study successes can you tell us about? Can you encourage us with, you know, actually something that's going on or has happened over the time you've been doing this, that's causing people to get the witness and testify that, yeah, this has got traction and it's worth the buy-in, because that's one of the problems that I see when I talk to other people. People have a lot of great ideas, but I don't see the
Success rate.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly.
So that's excellent lingo that you use in there. I deal with that all the time when I do my IT job, because that's what you have to show for. So anything can sound good in conceptual phase, but we need to see some kind of results. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of examples I can give, and I know you're just now learning about the stuff that we're doing and stuff like that, but over time, if you take a look at some more videos, you'll see that from people who've actually benefited from it. But to keep it real brief, I showed you Jubilee Main Mission, right? So we helped to alleviate 189 people worth of debt. It's gone. Simply because we took a concept in the scriptures and turned it into a viable program to help people get rid of debt.
Okay.
Health-wise, we had, what's her name? Mother Bilal. So Mother Bilal is a mother that's part of KHM, and she, I think she was in stage 3, stage 4 cancer. She was in hospice. So I believe it was stage 4 cancer that she was in. And she reached out to us because she wanted to be part of KHM, but then she also told us that was going on. We intervened and we helped to reverse that.
Hallelujah.
And she's one of many cases. She's not the only case. There's plenty of others. So that's the goal. Take something that's a problem in the community, put the problem on the table, look into the blueprint of the scriptures and say, okay, the scripture says this is our problem today, so how can we take this and resolve that? And that's what we've attempted to do. Right? So like all the other services that I told you, some of them are in their pilot phases, some of them are already being applied, some of them are conceptual. The idea is, once we have it and we can take one and show the success with that, the objective is how do we repeat that process for every other need that we have, right? So to be honest with you, we only have maybe about 9 active chapters, you know what I'm saying? So we're just growing to this level, right? So we started creating our chapters back in 2019, the end of 2019. We had our New Orleans chapter, a couple other chapters then, and then last year we did 4 more chapters, and then right now we're doing our Raleigh chapter, so we're growing, we're expanding, and we do have some success stories, right, that we can share with you, and I can tell you personally, show you who you can talk to if you're interested in that.
Okay.
But the key thing is, we are not here in Raleigh. So when we go to a new city, that's the very question. How can we create something, a working model, that we can apply to see, okay, yeah, this idea actually can work. Well, the first thing is, I would have to ask y'all, tell me one major problem that you're experiencing in your community. Anybody, raise your hand. You said what? What kind of crime? All right, so you said drugs. All right, so drugs is an issue in the community, right? Is there anything in the scriptures that alludes to the taking of psychedelics, drugs, stimulants, depressants, etc.? You just said it. Say it one more time. Why?
Well, I didn't hear what he said.
He said stay sober-minded. To be sober-minded. Why? What's the rest of that text? What does it say?
Because the devil, the
Adversary,
Like a roaring lion.
So now you look to see who is profiting off of the drug sales in the community. And once you understand that, how do we take care of that? How do we intervene? The text says, intervene on behalf of the city to Yahweh in its peace. So then now we start that process. It works from a problem question all the way to a thesis or conclusion. And then during the process is an experimental phase to see if this works or not. So we start first with one problem, look into something in the scripture that we can link to that problem, and then work out a model to resolve that issue. Right? That's just one example. And that's a random thing I just did off the top of my head because that is something that's prevalent in almost all our communities, drug use. And again, I mentioned earlier, ADHD. I know when I was young, I was diagnosed with ADHD. They almost gave me medication, but my mom intervened. She didn't want that for me. Thank my mom for doing that because my friend's mom put him on drugs. And drugs have been a part of his life ever since. He thinks drugs is the solution for every problem. So culture, if you protect your child from that approach to diagnosis, prognosis, and prescription for an issue, now we've resolved one of many issues, or one of many problems. But we have to look at the issue, look at something the text speaks about in regards to that issue, come together as a community, like right now, talk about it. Hey, we tried this here and this works. Vote on it. Say, okay, now let's put this in motion and see if we can fix something, a small problem, and once we can do it as a group, then we can take on any other problem from there. It's an approach, yes. Oh, somebody had their hand up back there. Anybody else? Yes.
So, as far as the chapters and when you're reaching out to different areas, you're going to reach individuals and groups of individuals. So I'm wondering about, as far as the membership dues, is it all individual based? Or
So it's based on your household.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you have several people in your household, but they're all the household, the head of household is the one that actually does the donation and covers the home.
Okay.
Now, if you want to give more, it's a donation. If you want to give more than that, because you say, hey, we have 4 working adults here, you can give more than that, then that's totally up to you. But as a member, if you sign up, then we cover everybody in your household. Yeah. And you had a question? Yes.
It's in regards to, I believe it's Haya Academy?
Yes, in the language.
Is that is the school available online?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's Set Apart Homeschooling Academy. That's in Norfolk, Virginia, Set Apart Homeschooling Academy, and the High Academy is in Atlanta, and they both offer online.
Is it all or none? In other words, can you take one class or do you have to be enrolled in the whole curriculum?
They're working on that. So if you ask them, they'll let you know which ones. If you want to take individually, you can. Now this is for K-12, so it's not for adults. So let's say you want to supplement what you already, so if you're homeschooling already, but you want to supplement something, yes, you can do that. That's what you're asking, yes, they can offer that as well. And they also offer guidance in establishing a homeschool. Some people don't even know how to start, but they want to do it. They can also give you advice on how to do it. Yes. And I'm sorry, Mother, give me 1 second. So one of the things we want to accomplish is if we have a Raleigh chapter that's active, we're going to have one of those homeschooling centers physically here. But we can't do it unless we have people come together, pull our resources, and say this is one of the immediate needs in the community. Let's get behind and setting this up. Once we have that established, we have the education here so that you can bring your children there to learn and be educated. That's one less issue we have to worry about that we then can move on to issue 2, issue 3, issue 4. Right? So I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. So I was asking about the membership.
Yes.
So is it, the membership goes to Kingdom Harbinger?
Correct.
And it's not like separate, like Raleigh has all the membership, just.
Well, yes.
for Raleigh?
So what happens is we have a virtual chapter. So there's a lot of people. There's like 300 something people that sign up. Almost 350 people in our virtual chapter. A lot of them are not in a place where we have a physical chapter. So let's say Wilmington, for example. Wilmington is a completely different city, but we here in Raleigh. So we may have somebody in Wilmington that say, well, that's too far for me. We need something here locally. So they join our virtual chapter until we get enough people in Wilmington, and we visit Wilmington instead of a physical chapter, and then we go from there. However, virtual chapter is still active as well because there's still things we can do virtually until there's a physical city. So if the membership dues are paid to Raleigh, that's what y'all have in the bank. Let's say, for example, you need more than that for whatever project or whatever. We have a finance team that makes an assessment. We pull it from our resources or our pool. We add it to the budget you need, and then we get the job accomplished. It's just based on what you want to do. So if you want to start a homeschooling center, say, hey, we gotta pay this fee, we gotta get this place, etc. Tell us how much it is, and say how much have we raised from our dues. Well, it's not enough. We're short $500. Let's see how much we have in our excess. Hey, we have a surplus of $500. We can then give it to you because what happens is now once you create that, people will pay the tuition, and that money can come back.
Right.
So that's the job, to pull it back into, now we have a pool of more money to fix another problem. You mentioned drugs, fix another problem. Crime, or whatever crime or policy or whatever's adversely affecting us, we can solve another problem with the money that we made from the previous problem we fixed. Now we can go to the next one, to the next one, and to the next one. So you have a local chapter bank, and then you have the overall KHM bank. Anybody else?
Are you also trying to place the other ones like Durham, or is it usually like RTP kind of thing?
It depends. If there's enough people there, we'll go there and set it up physically.
Oh, okay.
If not, some people, they commute all the way to one place. It's not there yet. I don't want people to do that if they don't have to. So I try to look at some major cities and put them in major cities because that's the central point where people know where it's at and they can get there. You know what I'm saying? But in the interim, you could be anywhere. You could, if you have a family, our thing is we want a minimum of at least 10 people in that particular area because we want to give them different roles to be a functional part of the organization, right? Like I showed you earlier, administrator, a director, somebody that does the services program, the merchandise, that handles promotions for us. So we don't want that job to go on just one person. We want to be able to spread it out so that way different things can get done simultaneously, right? And then they're able to have a meeting point. Now, what happened with COVID, because COVID happened, a lot of people did not want to physically come together because they was afraid of coronavirus, you know what I'm saying? So that hurt a lot of things we were doing, so a lot of stuff stayed virtual, but now that things are more opening up, we're getting back to physical connecting, building comradeship. We do icebreakers, we do group activities so we can get to learn each other. We even take a problem that an individual has and say, hey, how can we fix so-and-so's problem together to kind of build that glue, that bond before we go out. We have training courses that you have to take once you join. I didn't mention that. It's called Fresh Skills Training. 6 courses you got to take: communication strategies, emotional intelligence, customer service, conflict resolution. Which one am I missing?
Goal setting.
Goal setting. We train you with these things first before you do anything. And then there's more skills that you can also train for, get a certificate in, etc., as you're going throughout the ministry. We want to give you everything that we can to equip you to do the best job we can. You're not limited to just us. If you stay with us for 1 year, get everything that you need, you contribute to make sure that we grow and expand, then we'll send you off in style. Hey, look, y'all told you to do this. Here you go, because we're not a congregation. We're not threatening to say, oh no, this person's not going to bring their tithes and offerings no more. Let's guilt them into not leaving and going nowhere. Because you're already going to a congregation. So we don't want to disturb that, right? At some point, we may set up a small fellowship or a congregation type of thing, but that's not where we're at right now. We just want to get as many problems fixed in Raleigh as possible before we can think about doing anything else. Yes?
I just have one question about, you are in talks with anybody with like vocation school for like kids, so like train them to be an electrician, like 12.
So remember I told you about Saha Academy? Did you see the video interview I did with the brother online? That's what they do there too. So once they get into the teenage years, they expose them to all of that.
Nice, okay.
At High Academy, you get into STEM type related businesses. They expose them to that already. But now we've added the higher learning portion so they can go from there all the way into their higher learning. We're doing what we can with the limited resources that we can. But imagine if everybody says, I'm Israel, decided to come together and say, look, we have differences. Nobody's going to front act like we ain't got no differences, but what are the things that we all need together as a community? Right. Yeah. Let's at least fix that and deal with that, what we agree on, and then disagree, we could talk about that outside of that. Yeah. But when we come together, we have to do this. The United Nations. Nations hate each other, but they come together because there's mutual resources that each nation needs from the other nation. They can figure it out. Why can't we? Y'all's waiting on us. We say, okay, we're gonna wait to see. Y'all said that you're getting yourself right. Okay, let me see how you get yourself right. And we get together, we arguing all the time. Imagine that. You have 2 children. Are you going to be happy when your children, when they come together, they always fighting and arguing, or they getting along? Which one you prefer? Getting along. Getting along does not remove their individual personalities, but they've decided to find a chemistry to allow them to work together because each one has something beneficial that the other has. What I learned with my daughters are young. One is going to be 3 next week. One is already 4. Is that watching children, you learn a whole bunch of stuff. I realized that when my children get together, it's because one has something that the other one needs, so they're willing to yield to get it and work together. But when they don't have nothing the other one don't need, then they fight and argue because there's something to gain. There's always some kind of incentive. Things unfortunately have to be incentivized for us to work together. The greatest incentive is we ain't ready for y'all to judge. We ain't got nothing in order. I told you about a whole bunch of resources we don't even have yet. So that's stuff already, but sometimes people need other incentives. So we find small monetary incentives if they need it. Like, hey, would you like to do ministry as your livelihood? Take care of your family, and you focus on building the kingdom. That sounds great. That's one incentive. I have to give that, but I say, look, before we get there, we have to do this amount of work. Are you willing to do the work so that you can receive the reward? A lot of people don't. They want the manna of complaint and not the fruit of obedience. I'm gonna stop there. I did a whole message. So the manna of complaint was they was in the wilderness. Oh yeah, man, why you take me out the wilderness? We need some bread. He gives them that, as opposed to those who they reap a harvest based on their obedience to God's word. They're not asking them for anything. Like, y'all give us this white. They're not groaning. They're not complaining. They're actually being enabled to get what they want based on their obedience. God's going to reward you based on obedience. You can eat of the fruit. But if you keep eating the manna, then you're not ready to move to the next step. So many of us are just eating the manna, getting by, that when you put them with another person, they can't even do something productive or fruitful together. Because they're still eating that manna. They don't know how to be self-sufficient. All right, so we're done. So I want y'all to eat before the food gets stale, right?